That was a scary walk. Welcome to our best practice in promotions session. We're going to be discussing how best to encourage those promotions across our supply chain. And I'm delighted to be joined by each point in our supply chain too. We have Courtney Lewis from Premier Foods. We have LJ Hansen from Bestway and Rav Garcher, a multi-site nicer retailer. Please come and join me. It's very lonely up here. I think all the mics work now, so no dodgy mics. LJ, I'm going to come to you first when Rav's got himself comfortable. What's the motivation behind Bestway's Jubilee Majestic House of Deals? I love that. Marketing did very well there. What was the sort of theory behind it? What was the purpose of promotions in wholesale?
Well, I think if we start with ultimately the purpose of promotions, there's probably three purposes. If we start with what is the purpose, firstly is it there to drive value? Is it there to drive volume? So we all put on promotions that ultimately for volume could be value, could be margin enhancers for the retailers because they're on the shelf and they were going to buy them anyway. Very similar to being in the grocers and seeing them walk past the shelves. We've got the volume, so again, the price. Is the price right? Is it going to drive the volume? And then we've ultimately got is it going to drive trial as well? So is it actually about the theatre, etc.? And in regards to the Majestic, it was more to do with disruption. So as a business, we've got 110,000 unique customers over the year. 50% of our business is done in depot. And actually, we know that retailers are coming in, 80% of them, with a shopping list. So how do we do what all of you suppliers are trying to do in grocery and interrupt our customers, make them look, and then ultimately when they realise that it's the right product at the right price, they will buy it.
Sounds simple. Rav, if we come to you next, can you tell us a little bit about what works well when promoting products in store?
Yeah, it's not rocket science, pile it high, stick it on a shelf. There is a little bit of logic to it. What works best is deepest cut. However, deepest cut alone won't be enough. You've still got to get them over to the threshold and then get them in. The logic comes in on the promo ends, and so that we're dressing them according to mission or time of day. So having a promo end just filled with crisps, you're missing out massive chunks of customers who could be having a drink with it, having a snack, tying it in with sandwiches. So it's, the mix is most important with the encouragement to try something different and to go home with a bigger basket.
Okay, doesn't sound that simple. Don't do yourself down. Courtney, Premier Foods has launched several on-pack promotions, hasn't it, and initiatives in the last few years. How's that benefited the convenience channel?
The kind of role of an on-pack, it's a great way for retailers to ultimately engage with their shoppers and also drive a higher rate of sale versus a traditional promotion. So what we tend to see within Premier Foods when we have a good on-pack with a promotional offer versus normal promotions, we tend to see a double-digit sales increase when we compare the two. To elaborate on that a little bit more, when we did the tie-up with Call of Duty on our Bachelors brand, this brought 2.7 million new shoppers to the brand, which obviously flow through into sales. So from an engagement perspective, and it was in our most recent campaign, we did a tie-up with Pokemon. And what we actually saw is a number of retailers took the opportunity to cross-merchandise with Pokemon cards. And the feedback that we received was from that on-pack, they actually used the Pokemon cards and they saw an uplift in their Pokemon sales. So that kind of halo effect of having a good on-pack can obviously drive sales in other areas as well.
Rav, do you see this in store when there's that, I want to say cross-contamination, I'm not sure that's the right phrase to be using. I know when we talked about this, doing this panel, you did mention COD, Call of Duty?
Yeah, so Lucozade Suntory have engaged with a WhatsApp group with hundreds of retailers, so they're constantly talking to us about what's new, what's the next unpacked promo, and so Call of Duty was big, and loads of retailers got onto it with big FSDU displays as well as a stand, and customers are coming in just for that Instagram photo with the guy. I don't know what he is or what he does, but yeah.
Neither
It's
do
a
I.
guy with a mask.
Okay. All right, moving on. We've touched quite a few times on the cost of living crisis and price inflation now, and this is a question to all of you. How is the role of promotions going to move forward as we move deeper into the cost of living crisis? And it's a question for all of you. So if I start with the supplier, and we'll make our way down the supply chain. Courtney.
Yeah, obviously promotions are important in terms of, driving sales, etc. So shoppers are more savvy in terms of when they're planning for their shop. So naturally, they'll be looking for offers wherever they choose to shop. And we know that promotions are really important to drive those impulse sales. In a cost of living crisis, that will naturally increase. We did some independent research within Premier Foods, and it was just before the cost of living crisis. And what we actually found was that 83% shoppers in convenience stores actually stipulated that promotions were really important. So that will, again, naturally increase in a cost of living crisis.
Okay. And same question over to you, LJ.
I think it doesn't change promotions, but it's how we have to look at them. So I think as we get into a cost of living crisis, the way people are shopping, the last few years have all been about bulk value. So how can we spend a bigger pound but to save more? I think in convenience we'll do much better. It'll be about smaller packs because people will be living more week to week and in terms of paycheck to paycheck. So actually the value in terms of the kind of pence per unit will be very different. It'd be more about the initial spend, so that how low can we get that spend at that moment in time. So I think from a wholesaler and a convenience sector point of view, we should fare well throughout that as long as we're supporting smaller wash laundry and things like that as we look through. And then also ensuring that we maintain a focus on promotions, because again, it's not just a cost of living crisis for our consumers. We're all feeling the pinch along the line. So we need to make sure we continue to add the value to our wholesalers and our retailers and our suppliers support with that.
And Rav, I'm just going to caveat the question slightly to you. Do you need in your stores, do you think there's going to be a demand for promotions on grocery products rather than traditionally the more impulse lines? And how do you think we can work together to help that?
We don't know. The answer to that, we don't know, because we've just seen a massive shift. So cost of living, people working from home, people have changed jobs, so technically got a pay rise, or you would assume you've changed job because of a pay rise or lifestyle change. So all of that, the stores are all in flux. We don't know how best to execute. We're just executing. PMP is a love-hate relationship with retailers. We want it, but we want the margin. So that would have been our, ongoing price or our everyday low price. However, if the availability isn't there, then our everyday low price is at the window. So we're trying to rely on promotions to keep giving value and to stay relevant with the consumer. And that becoming everyday low price, hopefully that message goes through to consumers and they stick with us going forwards, however long the cost of living carries on for. Especially if we're looking at, £2 a litre on fuel almost now, and predicted maybe £3 by the end of the year. Yeah, we're just playing off the, we don't know what's happening next.
And do you think a mix of promotions is key to driving sales and keeping retailers loyal to their wholesaler?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix, for a retailer, it's a mix of promotion from a mix of wholesalers. And so we've learned, depending on where you are in the country, you're either lucky or unlucky depending on access to wholesale, right? I'm lucky, I'm in Birmingham, so we get multiple wholesalers, we can find good value, overcome availability by going to multiple wholesalers and then fill our shelves and make sure the promotions, even in category, make sense, or deliver value for the consumer. So it's mix, mix, mix. Everything's a mix. Yeah, head's gone. And in stores, because everyone's running around like headless chickens.
Okay, Courtney, coming to you next. How's Premier Food going to be supporting retailers to pass on promotions to the consumer over the coming months?
From a Premier Foods perspective, what we're looking to do is trial a number of initiatives, you know, as part of a test and learn approach. You know, we want to trial things with retailers. I think that's very much what we're looking to do. There's no set rule. We're looking to test and learn some new initiatives. Because I do believe within, you know, if retailers can make more by selling more as part of their overall mix, I think there's a volume opportunity throughout the supply chain. But absolutely, it needs to work for retailers.
Okay, and how, LJ, how can suppliers best support wholesalers to pull off promotions like the impressive Jubilee set that we saw?
Well, I think firstly, suppliers, an understanding of the supply chain. So I think Demetria did a good job earlier of saying how very much they are flat in depot promos. But as I touched on before, 110,000 customers across a very varied business. So we have food service, we do a lot independent and depot, we've got delivered, we've got collect. Firstly, you have to take that promotion and what is your purpose, as I said before. So is Courtney coming to me with a volume proposition that he wants to hit the independents with? So absolutely, we'd have the vehicle of, if the price is right, we can activate it, we can put the disruption there. Is he coming with a convenience promotion, and how do we execute that in the vehicles that we have? So I think first and foremost, we need to ask suppliers to understand where they want that promotion, where that consumer wants to be, and who they're trying to deliver that to. And then can be sometimes very much a, oh, you're Demetria with 56 depots, execute this. You need to take that back and understand what part of our business, who do you want to execute that with, and where do you want that return for either the retailer or the consumer. So understand the business.
And how important is communication for you in the middle, managing this relationship between supplier and retailer when you're executing promotions and making sure you've got the availability, as Rav says, is so important?
I don't want to say too much because obviously I'm poacher turned gamekeeper, so I'm probably going to say I was doing it wrong before I moved. But I think the biggest, again, the problem is understanding the parts of the business. So we've got a family business that's grown a lot of complexities to support suppliers to access more businesses throughout the company. So understanding the vehicles, we have a lot, we've always relied on the suppliers to spend on TV, advertising to create the consumer pull. More and more we're finding that suppliers are pulling away from retail newses, cash and carry management. We can only communicate with our 110,000 through the vehicles that we have. We forget that there's a retailer in the centre and how we communicate with those. So what are suppliers doing to realise that Rav isn't his target audience for the man in the suit on COD? So actually, how do we tell him that it's really relevant to him and relevant to his consumers? We kind of miss that out. We kind of put all the onus on the wholesaler when we have price, promotion and interruption. We need to get more communication channels out to wider, especially the independent sector. It's 50% of our business. We can't speak to every one of those outside of the vehicles that we have.
Okay, Rav, what's the communication like between supplier? And you've mentioned before that there are WhatsApp groups, and the more touch points, the better. Are you able to elaborate on that? And then Courtney, if I come to you with a similar point.
Yeah, so I think 10 years ago, the answer would have been magazines, right? And so now we've got less time to read the magazines, and there's less publications. So all of that communication's gone digital. Twitter, maybe not so much Facebook. LinkedIn's really useful, and WhatsApp. With those suppliers who've engaged with WhatsApp groups, yes, it can be difficult. There's a lot of people in a room, and you don't know who you're talking to when, and any one message can sidetrack the whole conversation. And so, as long as you know what the pitfalls are, then you can overcome them. However, look, independent retail has always been about brawns. Fill up your trolley, get a big pallet, unload it, fill your shelf, sell it. But the reality is we can move to a more digital model, That doesn't mean that we sell it digitally. That just means that we are more efficient digitally, that we can communicate better digitally, and also to the consumer digitally. So with the likes of GISP or Snappy Shopper or whoever it might be, to deliver the communications to the end consumer, we can take that all right back through the supply chain and engage with the supplier at the end and say, we've got a customer for this. We've got a lot of customers for this. You know, how about we do something different on this occasion, rather than being a promotion for a 3-week period on this product that we don't know if you've got stock for. We can't keep the stock, and we don't know what the price is going to be.
It sounds quite confusing. Courtney, at Premier Foods, you have a portal. Is it an online portal for customers?
Yes, we do.
Can you tell us a bit about that? It sounds like it links quite nicely into what Rav's saying about the communication aspect.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. So we have a retailer-friendly website which contains a lot of useful information around planograms and recommendations for retailers. I think as a supplier, and I kind of touched on this test and learn approach that we were doing, we can do a better job in utilising that asset to help retailers. And as well as when, around promotions, etc., as a supplier, it's our job to, help with that communication and also come up with solutions that are self-executing, because it's really important, certainly in the independent sector, that solutions are simple to execute.
Okay. I'm going to move on to healthy products and promoting healthy products. Do you think we're going to see a trend towards promoting healthier products? Is that something that suppliers are going to look to do? Is it something that retailers are going to want? Is it what consumers are going to demand? Can we discuss? Who would like to go first? Go on.
Yeah, so obviously, HFS is well documented. So naturally, so to answer your question directly, healthy products are already promoted, but it tends to be very seasonalised when they do. The very nature of HFSS will see more healthier products in market. We're already seeing a lot of suppliers already bring to market healthier versions of products impacted by HFSS. So I think naturally you will see an increase in kind of promotions on healthier products. What I would say is, though, but you do have shoppers and consumers that are not interested in health. So they will still seek out and explore full-fat chocolate, etc.
Surely not. You must have lots of customers that are up for healthy products, Rav, surely.
Not as many as I would like. So we've always tried, and in many cases, most of those sales are in single-digit numbers. So they don't warrant the space on the shelves, but we're trying our best to give them the space, to give them a chance. So look, we all know we're creatures of habit. So we're going to buy the brands that we buy, and we're going to buy the tins and the jars that we always buy, whether it's high salt, low salt, whatever it might be. But we're not doing a great job of communicating whether a product is high on this or low on that on shelf. Other than the jar itself or the product, we don't do very well messaging on shelf. So I think that's valuable. Promoting would be really helpful, because we have inconsistencies in promotions. As you said, on healthy food, we only do it seasonally, and it's not enough to warrant that product going into a basket regularly enough. And so we need to create that habit by over-promoting, whether it be gluten-free, low-fat, low sugar, and just for people to try those products. What's interesting in the last couple of years is the home delivery. So the food home delivery, so the Just Eats and the Deliveroos and all that. We know we've got people in households that order 4 different meals from 4 different vendors. So they've got 4 different pallets, but we're not really engaging with those same 4 different individuals in convenience stores. We're treating them as one buying unit rather than 4 individuals. Whereas the kids are really pulling it through by saying, I don't care, I want the next £5 packet of crisps that come from America, or the £2 small can of energy drink, or whatever it might be, £3, £5 even. And so they're spending their disposable. It's all disposable to them, cash. So they're spending it and driving it through. That's where it's interesting seeing both ends of it, and care the health.
Okay, and LJ, just before we bring this session to a close, are you able to tell us a little bit about the Best Way's done a few various initiatives on healthy eating and how that's gone in depot, and does that hold some hope for the future?
Yeah, so we've been trialling in our depots in conjunction with the council in regards to bringing healthier options into wholesalers in underprivileged areas. And actually, the vehicle that we had with that, and again, I think it goes back to the promotional piece, is it's quite easy. I was with a crisp company before I was here, and good old baked that's been around for a long while, but you would always put it into the promotion with the normal Walker's crisps. Again, I think it's the whole piece that we've done is about increasing profit for retailers, so make it attractive. So again, the price. And on that, understanding what you're trying to do, you're trying to drive trial, because again, a lot of this is about switching, because you know they're making the decision, like you say, at the till. I do it. Clearly, I eat apples all day, and I don't bother with that kind of muck. But you're making a decision based on that point, and actually, it's about choice. So we've really tried to pull ourselves away from health, like kind of the health agenda, because it's very controversial out there. It's if I went to PepsiCo and said, can you give me a healthy product? That means a very different thing to a healthier option. So it's all about driving choice. And actually, these guys don't have expandable shelves. So how do we create a better choice for the retailer? Because it will reduce their kind of risk by taking that product at a lower price and being able to put it on to drive trial. So again, it's going back to what's the purpose that you're trying to achieve on the promotion and what is your intent?
Okay, we've got flashing screens here everywhere saying the time is up, but very, very quickly, each of you, what is the one takeaway you'd like our delegates here to take away? Courtney, come to you first.
I think it's a test and learn approach, help retailers understand the benefits of promotions for their stores, and importantly provide them with solutions that are easy for them to self-execute.
Okay, LJ?
We are a wholesaler with multiple vehicles, convenience, food service, so make sure that you come to us with a proposition that is, the price is correct, the vehicle you want to use, and what you're absolutely intending to achieve out the back of it.
Rav?
I've got two.
Go on then.
I made a mistake. I should have had a word with Neil first. My first one is a quote by Bruce Lee, and it's a request to all suppliers: be like water, be fluid, allow us, work with us. We want to engage, and we want to be creative on our storefronts. And the second point is we've actually have a AI product, an Australian AI product actually, that utilizes what's happening on shelf with a planogram range, and what my objective is with that platform is to match the whole supply chain, almost like a blockchain, bring the supplier, the manufacturer in to the shelf, so you see exactly where my gaps are, when the gap is, what the price is, and then we act upon it instantly.
Be like water.
Like water.
Love it. Thank you very much. Please give our panelists a big hand. We're now going to take a quick half-an-hour coffee break, so please make your way outside. But before